Hi you guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I want to help you prepare for your application for an apartment rental. And I don't want to say that this video is only for Paris. I have rented apartments in several cities across France, so I think this video is going to be useful to you if you're looking to rent pretty much anywhere in France. It is the same across the board. And what we're talking about today is the actual application that you're handing in to the agent or the landlord. And the way we refer to this in French is dossier. So I'm going to be using the word dossier in today's video to describe the application that you're going to submit. And if you're watching this video before you actually go and look at apartments, then that is great. You want to make sure that you have your application ready, your dossier ready before you go to any visit. Why? Because if you really like a place that you see, you want to make sure that you are sending your dossier in immediately. And I really mean immediately, as in as soon as you leave, you send your dossier. And this is because most agents and landlords won't really look at more than 5 dossiers. So if you can be in those first 5, then you stand a much better chance. And I think it's really important to acknowledge and consider that it's not necessarily about having the best dossier. It's a combination of having a solid dossier, a solid application, and also being fast. Like, even if you have the best dossier, if you apply 5 days after the visit, you don't stand a single chance. So what I like to do is I have my application ready on a Google Drive and I just send the link right away to the agent or to the landlord if I'm interested. And from experience, every single time that I've gotten the apartment that I've wanted, I have sent the dossier on the day of the visit and I've heard back within that same day, maybe even less than an hour later, with a confirmation that the apartment is mine if we can get all the paperwork done and the contract signed ASAP. Most agents and landlords just want to get their rental rented and signed. So in France, at least, it is the most important to be fast. Now, quickly, before we get into this video, I do just want to say that if you want tips in how to actually search for an apartment in Paris specifically, then I have already made a video on this. I will leave it linked down below. It is the best method, in my opinion, for apartment hunting. I've rented 4 apartments so far in Paris, so I'm pretty well versed in the whole process. So yeah, like I said, it'll be linked down below if you're looking for help in that sense. Without further ado, let's get into building your dossier. So I have actually kept every single paper application form that agents and landlords have given Jill and I during our current apartment hunting process. And these forms are all the same. They're pretty standard. On page 1, you'll have a picture of the apartment with all the specs, like the meters squared, the rent, the agency fees, the energy consumption rating. You'll have the agent's name and contact information as well. And then page 2 will look something like this, which is the paper application form, which you would complete and send off with all the required documents. Now let's get into those required documents. The very first thing that you'll need to build your dossier is, of course, your ID. If you're international, this will be your passport. If you're French, this will be your ID card, front and back. The second document that you'll need to provide is your work contract, plus an employee attestation. So the work contract is easy. This is literally just the contract that you would have signed with your company before you started to work. But you also need to include an employee attestation. And the point of this document is to ensure that you truly are employed at the company that you say you are employed at, and that you're not in the process of being laid off or fired. It's very straightforward. You just ask HR to provide this to you and they will type out on a piece of paper that you do work for them and you're not in a process of dismissal, and they'll sign it. One thing that's really important to note about the employee attestation is it can't be older than 3 months. So it has to be fairly recent to be considered in your application. And the third and final work-related document that you'll need to provide are your last 3 payslips. Now, if you're a student or if you're looking to rent an apartment in France because you're coming here to study abroad and you're watching this video and you're like, I don't have a work contract or an employer's attestation, what am I gonna do? Don't panic. You can absolutely still rent an apartment as a student. I've done it many times. Just instead of a work contract, you'll have to provide your enrollment certificate from the school that you're studying at. The next document that you'll need to provide is your most recent tax declaration. Everybody who's lived in France for over a year has filed their taxes, regardless of whether or not you were working. And once you file your taxes, everybody receives their tax declaration. This is the only document that you receive from filing your taxes, so it's not hard to find, but you do have to download it and include it in your application. Now, if this is your first time traveling to France, renting an apartment in France, if you've never lived here before, it is totally normal and fine that you don't have this document. You just need to make the agent or the landlord aware of that so they understand why you're not providing it in your application. And the last document that you'll need to include in your dossier are the last 3 receipts of your rental payments. If you aren't renting, then you can just include an attestation de hébergement. So if you're staying with a friend or with family, then they just have to type out an attestation that you live with them and sign it, and you can use that. But if you are paying rent, then you can just ask your landlord to send you the last 3 receipts of payment, and you'll submit that with your dossier. Now, let's talk about guarantors, because you don't always need them. Sometimes you do. I want to cover all those cases, and I want to talk about the paperwork that's required. So if you're a student, if you don't have a full-time job, then you do need not 1, but 2 guarantors. If you're working in France, you have a contract, and you earn at least 3 times the rent per month, then it's not likely that the landlord or the agent will ask you for guarantors. They might, but if they feel comfortable in your salary and you being able to pay that rent, then they won't ask for any type of guarantor. I would say, from my experience, 25% of the landlords or the agents that I've worked with have wanted me to have guarantors despite me having a full-time job. And it's completely fine to have foreign guarantors. I have used my parents who are back home in Canada as a guarantor. I will say that I have had pushback from landlords on international guarantors. It's been much easier, honestly, to use Jean's parents who are French. The landlords feel like they can trust that more. All that to say, if you are working, if you have a CDI, if you earn 3 times the rent, you may or may not need guarantors. I would say you probably won't need them. So if you do find yourself in a case where you need to provide 1 or likely 2 guarantors, then you not only have to provide their names, but you have to provide all of the same paperwork that you just collected for yourself for your guarantor. So you need your guarantor's ID, you need their work contract, you need their employee attestation, you need their last 3 payslips, you need their most recent tax declaration, and you need their last 3 receipts of rental payment. If they own their home, then you need to provide a document that's called their property tax. You just need to provide their property tax if they're not renting. So overall, you can see that the amount of documents is not only pretty huge, but they're also very personal. Like, it's a lot of personal and financial information, not just of you, but also of your guarantors. And the reason why I want to draw attention to this is because you do sometimes have agents or landlords who ask you to send your dossier in advance before you can even view the apartment. And I really advise you to proceed with caution when you have anyone asking you to do this, because the amount of personal and financial information in a dossier, not just for you, but for your guarantors, is significant. I personally never send a dossier out without looking at an apartment and wanting to live in that apartment. I just don't want to risk sending all my information out there when there isn't even a chance that I want to rent something. So I always go to the visit first. I assess whether or not I want to actually apply. And if I do want to apply, that's when I send the agent and the landlord my dossier. So there you have it, short and sweet. That is everything you need to build your dossier. I hope this video has been clear, that it's been helpful. If you have any questions for me, let me know down below. I wish you all the best luck as you're searching for your next apartment in France, and I'll see you guys in the next one.